Welcome to the first discussion of the IIHS Capacity Development Course, Pedagogical Tools for Individual Capacity Building, Learners' Experiences. We are honored to have here a few of our learners from individual capacity building programs designed and delivered by the Urban Practitioners Program at IIHS. This marks the beginning of our active cross-program alumni engagement on a common forum. The objective of this discussion is not to create testimonials or to dwell on program level feedback. Rather, it is to bring out experiences with the pedagogical tools, methods and approaches used across program types and models and delivery modes as well. So this is the reason why we have invited learners from programs conducted in the last 3 years. The online versus offline mode of program design and delivery will be at the core of this discussion. I now request the invited learners to please turn on their videos. Please keep your mics muted when you're not speaking. I request the other participants to please turn off your cameras and microphones. Please do use the chat option to highlight your experiences or to ask more questions to the discussants. All this while, there hasn't been much activity on the chat, so I please request you to keep it active. You can keep adding your experiences as we talk about different tools and approaches and methods. And thank you for joining us today. To stay within the time limit, I ask all the discussants that you please introduce yourselves briefly as you respond to questions that are directed at you. Yeah. Okay. So can I please have all of the discussants put your videos on? Able to see, I'm able to see Manoj Kumar, able to see Tatasmita. Right? Sorry. Okay, Mosmi is having some bandwidth issues. She will join with audio mode. All right, let's start off. The very first thing that I want to begin this session with is that capacity building and training programs are often interchangeably used, and we want to break that down, right? And we will go beyond the training program model, and we'll talk about mentorship models for a bit. So starting off with the India Disaster Resilience Leadership Fellowship that was conducted in 2019, we have a fellow here, Ms. Bhashwati. Can you please give a brief on how components of this fellowship program helped build your individual capacity? You talk about what the components are and how did that really help? Before you start answering that, if you can please briefly introduce yourselves to the participants. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Bhashwati Thakurta, and I work in Center for Women's Development Studies, New Delhi. And my area of research is gender and forestry, disaster management, and basically I work in gender and environmental issues. So thanks for inviting to share my experience as an ex-DRL fellow in pre-COVID times to this Urban Professional Forum on Capacity Development. I would like to discuss 3 components from my perspective as a reply of this question. They are, 1 is methods, number 2, inside the method, and number 3, outside the method. So let's start with methods. Those methods where when I was a participant in the program, I learned are extremely flexible when we discuss about methodologies for research during post-COVID-19 times. Case studies, both in field and classroom, in urban context and probable remedies to achieve the leverage point is one of the objectives of our everyday classroom study. And at the same time, we went to the field, but I will explain it later in my field experiences. And regarding understanding the system thinking skills, it opens the door to get inside. The second point of my discussion is inside the method. Like we have creative thinking as well as thinking caused by system. We think scientifically also bottom up or top down method. These are there are other ways of system-based thinking skills. In this point, I start pondering my action plan when I was selected in this program based on my action plan. And my plan was the urban tree hazard in context of Delhi. Now, this method of learning developed my research skill and capacity and understanding of the feasibility, the ground reality of doing a research plan or before pondering something firm. And regarding mentorship, I must say, my mentors, they provide me confidence, and it was a comfortable relationship. We are in a hierarchical method of educational system, starting from our school, in our college, but this kind of platform provide us a smooth, comfortable position to discuss. And sometimes I believe that in a classroom method, in the other side of the chair, it is important at the mid-career to upgrade ourselves with major information from new studies, new theories, and new methods. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do you want to add anything more to how the mentorship model in the fellowship worked for you as a researcher, as a working professional, and as a leader? Because that's what the fellowship was about. Do you want to add anything? Yeah.
Yes. Regarding fellowship, regarding leadership, when we learn about leadership, these points are pretty normal, pretty common thing. When I learn, oh, okay, I knew it. But when we are using it in time of implementation of a project, of an action plan, we realize how difficult it was. It was not as smooth sailing as we think. There are lots of loops and lots of stucking point. And here I find my friends are really helpful, who actually help me in a different point. But at the same time, leadership is pretty important to not only communicate with the bureaucrats, but at the same time to create a connection between the community. And my understanding in different excursions, educational excursions, and different fellowship in this leadership program is the understanding the path, what to be taken. It is not that it is just whatever experience I have, just using it. It is not that reality. There are some nitty-gritty and some pros and cons we have to be very careful to implement in the ground reality.
Thank you, Bhashwati. Continuing with the mentorship model, I'd like to ask Ms. Moshmi, who was a learner and a coordinator of the customized program that we had made for advisors at the AIGGPA in Madhya Pradesh. And you could introduce yourself, Ms. Moshmi. Before that, my prompt for you is this. How was the mentorship model helpful in building your capacity to deliver in your roles at AIGGPA? Because that's what the customization was all about. So could you throw some light on that?
Yeah, hi, Iswarya. I was just trying to start my video. I apologize since I'm traveling. I think I had mentioned the same to you. Sure. Yeah, I think I have been able to join. Thank you very much for inviting me for this wonderful session and discussion. And I am really proud to be an alumni of IIHS and of the Urban Practitioners Program as well. As you rightly pointed out, that this was a custom-made program for the advisors at the AIGGPA. If I may just introduce myself, I'm Mosmi Hajela. I'm an advisor at the Center for Urban Governance in Atal Bihari Vajpayee Institute of Good Governance and Policy Analysis. And what our program dealt with was more of, I can say it was an induction come a kind of a capacity building of the newly recruited advisors at the AIGGPA. And since the center works in various fields, there were around 6 centers and around 16 advisors who were trained in this program. So it was a multidisciplinary, I would say, kind of a group. The cohort was multidisciplinary because it had people from all the verticals of the AIGGPA, which ranged from not just urban sector, but also from the social sector, the health sector, the Center for Economic sector. So the various people, they were there. So that was one, I think, one difference, I would say, since that was the reason that the customization had happened. And we were a bit unlucky to not being able to physically come down to IIHS for the training program because it was during the COVID times and we had restrictions. So it was a completely online session. And then we did it in parts so that we thought, initial learning could be online and then it could be taken up on offline. So, but however, it was well crafted for us. And what we learned best was how, as an advisor, the various kind of roles that we would be given, the kind of policy making that was expected out of us. So it gave us a wide range of, the pedagogy included that. So we could enhance the way we were drafting our policies, drafting our reports, documents for the government. So that was very helpful. Those sessions were indeed very helpful. So when the reports came out, especially graphical issues, because since there were people from different sectors, social sector especially, who were not well versed with GIS or with AutoCAD, like how urban, people from the urban sector are exposed to. So that gave them also an idea as to how the graphical part of the reports could be taken care of. So, and also how policy making could have, brevity and also clarity in terms of the documents which were given to the government, because the government doesn't want hefty bulk of reports to them. They want pinpointed, actionable points. So that helped us, that session helped us in grooming ourselves in writing better. So that was one input that was very well done. There was a drawback, certainly because of the online sessions, because the kind of group work that we were involved in and, the cross-sectoral things, that took a bit of a backseat just because it was online. Had it been, personal interactions, it would have come out much better. But even though we could manage that. So I think, yes, so that was my part.
Sure.
What else?
I'll come back to you, Mosmi. Thanks. You've also answered my prompt on the what worked for you and what didn't work with the hand-holding period that happened online as well in between. So just circling back to this topic on hand-holding and guiding, hands-on working on it is an integral part of mentorship models everywhere. And it's also very crucial for skills training. You had, Mosmi, spoken about report writing and data visualization skills. We had a course run again online for a wide range of professionals from different cities in India, smart cities in India, in which Ms. Dattasmita was a part of. Ms. Dattasmita, if you could just join us in this conversation, and if you could address this point about the courses held for you were both at basic and advanced levels of data visualization. Both of them happened online with the gap in between. And it had a very skill-specific learning objective, right? It was very tools-oriented that are available for data visualization. It was about hand-holding through the process. What training methods that we had used worked for you, especially since it was happening online? What were the challenges that you had faced? If you could focus on the methods, the tools that we had used during the online courses.
Fine. Thank you, Iswarya. Hello, everyone. I'm Dattasmita, working as ICT manager in Tumkur Smart City Limited. Yes, I was being part of this online data visualization program, which happened during the December 2020 and February 2021 in two phases. So one is at the preliminary level and then there's the advanced level. So when we have been nominated for the course, I was just on a thought that this would be a general workshop where the general training session will go on. But I was very happy to see how this instructor-led training had been jointly taken up along with the practical session as well during the teaching. So we had in-session practical sessions as well. So this is one of the major advantage. And what we learned during December was a basic introduction to the and what are the analysis and be understood, how the data should be split across based on the category, feature, and the department, etc. So these are the basic understanding we understood during the introduction of data visualization. Then we were taken into the practical level of how the data should be represented. So there we understood what is the meaning of data wrapper. Data wrapper is a free online tool that is available, which we can use it for any kind of data. Even we can go for a plotter graph or a pie chart or a bar graph. Everything can be plotted online if we have the data ready, a processed data ready. So this is what we understood during the preliminary session. There was also an introduction to geospatial data, which was taken in the second phase, that is during February 2021. So coming to the second part, that is advanced level, where we actually understood the programming. So this was just a GUI application, graphical user based, where the ready tools was there on the system. We just have to take it from the browser and put it onto the browser. But in the second phase, we had the programming, where we had to sit down and write the code, which is computer understandable way. So we were made to understand how the programming starts with and how are the basic semantics and syntax. Everything was online. So just to comprehend both the phases, I was very happy to be part of, because I am from IT background. So I have been very active on the virtual training sessions. I really enjoyed the sessions. So it was completely theoretical as well as practical. The challenges probably could be for others, those who didn't had the pace of adapting to the training, because some could not be from IT background. Those who cannot handle the computer system, those who doesn't understand the programming, there could be a step back for this training. If those are from completely IT background, this is a fantastic program that I have experienced with.
Thank you, Dr. Smita. It's a very valid point that you have brought up over here, because every time we have a cohort, we're not always lucky to have a homogeneous crowd. It's most of the time very heterogeneous. They come from different backgrounds and they have different capabilities as well. And there is a stark difference when it comes to an online program and an offline program. With an offline program, you get time that's not shared with the others, to focus your attentions on certain people who need certain additional hand-holding support, right? So that's a key point that you have brought up. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Bhashwati, now getting back to you, both Dr. Smita's program as well as Maushmi's programs, they were both online completely. When it came to DRL fellowship, the workshops were happening offline and there was hand-holding support in between that was online. Just very, very briefly, what worked for you, what didn't, and why? Just very briefly.
For the hand-holding, as you said, the support from faculties, there are 2 Zoom lectures I have attended between 2 workshops. I think those selection of the people are really good at the time of like Zoom lectures, and at the same time there are faculties, there are availability of faculties, or we have a chart so we can talk with them. But at the same time, the difficult part is that we all have our different engagements at office and our times are sometimes not matching, so it's okay, but the faculties are very helpful and they are also flexible. So I said initially there is no hierarchy, and that's why it is not a one-sided affair like a monologue, but it is rather a conversation with the faculties, and it is very easy for us since we participated in participated in the workshop and we interacted each other physically. So I think that is the wonderful thing that our program we had this program. But online I have doubt, but still I feel that is the beauty of the program we had.
Sure. Thank you so much, Bhashwati. Now we'll just quickly move away from mentorship, hand-holding, and online exercises and look at a very important pedagogical tool and method that's used across capacity development programs, that's site visits. So the capacity building program on solid waste management for Swachh Bharat mission through NIOA that we had conducted for officials from Kerala and Karnataka was mostly focused on site visit based learning. Mr. Shreyas, if you can answer a few questions on that, how useful was this approach using site visits, right, in your learning journey? And also, which aspects of the projects, right, the ones that you visited, did you think were more useful to learn or understand through site visits? If you could throw some light on these, please. And you could start with a short introduction.
Thank you for inviting for this session. I would like to say that it was a very good experience. And also that was a very effective approach. By visiting the field, we can get to know the reality on ground, what's happening. By online session and our classroom session, we can get to know about the theoretical knowledge of that. But if we could organize or we could visit that field in that exactly, we can get to know the reality. I can say that was a very good experience. And also we learned many things what Kerala government has, they have adopted some models, composting models, they have showed to us. That was a very good. And also we are also doing in innovation in some composting approaches here in Karnataka also. Sorry that I am Shreyas Kumar, working in urban local body of Karnataka, urban development department. That was a very good experience, I would like to say. Thank you IIHS and NIUA for organizing that workshop, and thank you.
All right, if Shreyas doesn't have anything else to add, coming back to Bhashwati, we had one site visit that was significant. How was this site visit contributing to your understanding of leadership? Because that was the takeaway, right? Yeah.
Yes, like we had 2 site visits. One is under the rural program who are part of the community. That was a field in, the paddy field in Kottayam. And next is, and the second one, we went to Canalappi. In Alappi, there is a project going on Canalappi to cleaning the canal water, and with the community group Killa and the participation of Education Institute and Ministry. Now, my understanding regarding the leadership in these 2 field visits are a leader must follow the bottom-up approach. If the change is required, if it is the objective of the project, the community mobilization or bottom-up approach is the most important aspect. Rather, success of the project depends on it, because bottoms are mostly affected by any disaster. They are the worst affected, and they have to maintain the fruit of the successful project, whether it is a canal in Canalappi project or a paddy cultivation in Kottayam. Academic and educational institutes will intervene automatically if the community is vocal. So the leadership from the bottom and who are going from the outside, how to start the point to communicate with the bottom, it is very important. And what I learned in the field visit, I think it is the best experience. I think these are the most important components from the field I learned.
Sure. Thank you so much, Bhashwati. Moving on from site visits as pedagogical tools and methods, I want to pick up something which might be new for a lot of people here. Flipped classrooms for working professionals. This prompt is very specific for learners from programs conducted for the Jal Jeevan mission. Ms. Mamta, if you're around, and Mr. Dayashankar Prasad, Mr. Manoj Kumar, if you're around, this is directed to you. So about flipped classroom method itself, we had adopted a version of the pedagogical approach, which is called the flipped classroom. It inverts the idea of a regular classroom where concepts are taught as lectures and learners go back and do their homework, trying to apply these concepts to suit their context, So in case of a flipped classroom, what happens is they are given an assignment ahead of class, and then they will be well prepared during the class hours to use the session effectively, to engage with the instructor and their peers to have an active learning through application. So if I have you, Ms. Mamta, Mr. Dayashankar Prasad, and Mr. Manoj Kumar, if you can just throw some light on how this helped you in assimilating the concepts better, if it did, and why. Did it have an impact on the learner engagement during sessions? Because all of this happened in an online mode. Right now, in the last 3 to 4 months, this has been happening. And if you could throw some light on this. Do we have you?
Can I come in, ma'am?
Yes, yes, yes. Please, ma'am.
Yeah,
introduce yourself.
Excuse me. I'm not, I think some issues with my video. So I will be available through audio only.
No
so
problem.
A brief introduction is I'm Mamta Bakshi. I'm working in a social sector, but in a government sector. Like I'm an IC Information Education Communication Specialist working in a rural water supply department. So basically, job is a very challenging job, like changing the mindset of the rural communities to adopt the projects, which should be a demand-driven projects. Right. And community should come forward and they should own and operate their drinking water schemes. So, and this, first of all, I would like to thank ma'am and the organizers who have chosen me to speak on this and how our experience was with this training program is. And I'm really thankful to IIHS team. So ma'am, as you have already explained, this training on Jal Jeevan Mission, I think everybody knows this is a nation's proactive. Now that we want that every household, rural household particularly, they should get a safe drinking water steps at their doorsteps. And in as I'm working in the Punjab state, so our proactive is our objective, our vision is that we want each and every household in a village receives the safe water at the kitchen level also. My means the water should be available in the kitchen. Safe water should be available so that basically the gender, the women are really eased off. The ease of living is with them. So this, as per the training goes, this training, the IIHS is really, I think planning was done in such a good way as this. The engineers and the social sectors were the team members. And particularly this session, ma'am, which you are talking about is that this flipped classroom is that on this, I think on that very day, we were given topics and teams were formed. And in the teams, engineering teams were there, also members were there, and the social teams were there. So the topics were given to us and the topics were so relatable to us that what were the issue was, how we did it, what were the good practices were there, and what were the conclusions is. So we were given some time on it. We just prepare our answers. We were all, I think in this COVID times, one good thing is that earlier we used to go to some other states for have a cross learnings within the states. But through this program, this program was for 4 days. So I think on the 4th, I think days, throughout the nation, whatever happening in this water sector, rural water supply sector, or urban sector, on this 4 days, we can have very good cross-learning sessions were there. And when this particular session, which we are talking about, is the flipped classroom. In this session, ma'am, with 4 to 5 persons, we did talk very nice. But we can share our good examples, and that examples we just discussed thoroughly about what the good points, what good points can be replicable to the others, so that the sustainability part was a main motive. So these type of things are really helps in capacity building programs. I think anywhere you go, in whichever organization you go, when you discuss a thing, when you share the good practices, then it's really helpful to you. So I must say this type of trainings really helps you in the times of where we can't go personally, but sitting in one place, you can learn so much.
Yes. So flipped classroom did help you as a class with participants across different cities in the country, different states, in fact, to share your experiences, because you spent more time engaging with each other because you did your homework beforehand. So just one quick follow-up question, Ms. Mamta. So this concept of flipped classroom is usually recommended for higher education right now in graduate and postgraduate programs in colleges. Do you think it works for working professionals to give your homework well ahead? I mean, on the first day, you're given a homework and then you go back, do your work, and then come back and discuss and engage in class. Do you think working professionals can do it regularly? Is it a good idea for them?
Ma'am, I can say this is a very good thing. It's a very good type of a learning thing is there. If you have something in your mind that this thing you have to do, so some pressure is there also. And the pressure is on the positive side because you want to share the good things, what the good things really help you to move through the, to the right end. So you will discuss, you will thought about the things, you will study, you will research something from various things. So this really, I think this really helps.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Continuing from what you just said about cross-learning and peer learning, this is a very important component in all of the capacity development programs that we build out, right from the design stage, because, the capacity development is with working professionals, people who are already educated and trained in their particular disciplines, and then we are building on what they have. Right? It's not from scratch. So we really promote the idea of peer learning because that's where a lot of things move forward in the urban domain, because that helps people to implement things better, that helps them plan things better, because these conversations are so crucial. Right? So this has happened across models. And thank you so much, Mamta ma'am, for already bringing this up. Can anybody else from any program, if Manoj Kumar sir can just join in and talk about the cross-learning, that'd be great. Yeah. Manoj sir, if you can also introduce yourself.
Thank you, ma'am. I am Manoj Kumar, Superintending Engineer in Public Health Engineering Department, Government of Bihar. I was one of the participants in JJM training program. Yes, sir. So to start with, is what really a very good program and one of its own kind. It touched upon all important verticals which were required for the implementation of JJM. Methodology was also good. We have had classroom discussion, audio visual program, videos, interpersonal communication also, and the group activity was also, I think participants from 4 states were part of that particular program, and we have inter-state group formation, and we have had cross-learning also. So altogether, it was a very successful program. The program probably attains the objective for which it was designed for. Just to add on 2 or 3 things. Ma'am, JJM is a very ambitious program, not only for providing tap water connection to every household. Its implication is beyond that. It's a major tool for socio-economic change also, for educational change, to improve the drop-off ratio, to women empowerment, because women are the first person who face the treasury of water collecting in rural area. So it's a major tool for socio-economic change. Of course, water is going to be the new frontier of war in the days to come. So far as water conservation is concerned, grey water management is concerned, black water, many people are talking about virtual water nowadays. So we should, since the participants were senior people from government sector and the person involved in designing the policy of water. So in these type of program, we should also tangentially, at least tangentially touch upon the new emerging field like virtual water, how Singapore is treating black water to make it potable water. So because India is also gradually facing water scarcity in major part of the country. So what are the new technology? What are the emerging trend world over? So to add upon the values of this type of program, I think one session should be on the new emerging trends. That's all I have to submit. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just again, these prompts are for everyone about cross-learning and peer learning. I'll start. I think I'll take the Mosmi, in yours, as you had already mentioned, it was a cohort with different disciplinary backgrounds across different centers in the same institution. Were there specific activities that promoted peer learning within your group? Let's talk about those activities briefly.
The assignments that we had got specifically, if I may talk about, we were given certain research questions, and based on that, there was a group which was taken up from various sectors. So it was not just urban people together. So we were also clubbed with, the State Health Resource Center. So there were doctors in the group. There were people from the social sector background. So then we worked on a common problem, and we presented in our groups whatever we had learned. The most important part that was covered was, I think, the urban people got in touch with the social aspects. That is something which gets lost sometimes, because we become too technical about our streams. So the social aspects were considered, and the kind the research, especially working with the communities, how it is to be done. That was something that was a learning experience for especially people from the urban sector, because we barely get into the social aspects of it. So that was one outcome that we felt was which came out of that grouping. So that was one of the ways, and it also helped us understand where we lack, because there are a lot of researches, the way research is to be carried out in the social sector. It may not be, the quantitative aspects are fine, but the qualitative aspects, the qualitative researches was something that came across, that precipitated through those discussions. So I think that was a great learning experience for us. So cross-sectorally, I think that was a takeaway for all of us. And that can be seen in our policies as well that we're designing for the state. So yeah, so that was how it was in our case.
Thank you so much, Marjorie. It's a very important point, because that's something that Aro was also talking about, our director, earlier today, that in the urban domain it's very difficult to stay within disciplines, or it's not right to stay within disciplines as well. And working across sectors, coming from different backgrounds and different approaches, right? I mean, bringing them together itself is an unlearning and learning process. So thanks for sharing that experience.
Right.
I think
I can just share one very small example quickly.
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like we were doing the urban transport policy for the state of Madhya Pradesh, and urban transport, as we may, just hear it, that it sounds very technical. But when we went around with the stakeholder consultations, given the kind of aspects that we learned from our, the course setup from IIHS, we brought on board the Department of Social Justice and Disabled Welfare also on board. So even the urban department was very happy to have them on board and take their experiences. Otherwise, their voices are to a very large extent left unheard, and it's just limited only to the universal accessibility in terms of architectural or just planning aspects. There was something more to it, like planning for the transgenders, for the people who are from the backward communities, how we can mainstream them. So I think that came out beautifully for that. So that was a good takeaway. So thank you
so much for sharing this with us on this forum. I think that's very important to hear, because that also gives us satisfaction that we're doing something right. Yeah, thank you. I think I'll just ask one last question. We are already at 3:45. I'm directing this to Bhashwati, again on cross-learning and peer learning. In your fellowship, Bhashwati, it was a very distinctive group, because it was a group that constituted people from widely varying disciplinary backgrounds and experiences. Like we had IIS officers, we had academicians, researchers, entrepreneurs, practitioners, activists in a residential setting. Can you just briefly touch upon the approaches or tools that we used that brought you all together as peers and promoted learning from one another?
Yes. Our group is highly heterogeneous, but I think that is the best boon for us. So we interacted heavily, because while doing our action plan, we stuck in many times, many kind of bureaucratic hurdles. And that time, one of our peers, one of our colleague IS, who helped us to get out from it. And at the same time, we have extremely colleagues from different background, and they have lots of information. They can give me some information which I took in my research plan. So one of my colleague informed me about the GIZ wonderful app designed for Mexico City plantation or the avenue trees. So these kind of and discussion, we have a good time to discuss within our seniors, our peers, our faculty. It was a very smooth understanding and smooth discussion to upgrade myself, and I think the rest of our colleagues also upgrade themselves in this smooth way, because it is a heterogeneous group, and I think that is the best thing, because our group was heterogeneous.
Okay, all right. There is, I think, a question. No. So I don't see any raised hands. The last thing that I just wanted to bring up, now I think anyone in this participant group can just add on to in the chat box. This was about games and group activities. That's the most common pedagogical tools that we use in any capacity development program. And now with things changing post-pandemic, where you have the pandemic imposed restrictions such as distancing protocols, you have limitations in travel, there's that complete shift to online mode of learning, and we're all still figuring out the alternatives to the games and group activities that we used to do. We're trying to figure out breakout rooms, we're trying to use online engagement tools like a Padlet or a Mentimeter or any other tool like that. So if the audience could be participative about this, just keep adding their comments in the chat box. It will be very useful. I am closing this session right now. This discussion room will close right now. Thank you so much to all our learners who had joined. You guys were so helpful in organizing this as well. You just immediately said yes without even having to think too much about your availability. You said yes, if this is a forum with you guys, we are happy to participate. So we really are grateful for that. Thank you so very much for joining us, all of you across different programs. I think we will hold bigger forums for alumni engagement in the future. Thank you so much for joining us in the first version of CDF. Thanks. Now we'll move on to the next session, the next discussion room with trainer perspectives. And over to you, Dr. Shubha Muthukumar. Thanks. Thank you.